Okay, a very good evening to you, and welcome to the locker room on Indie Live Radio and also on Independent Live. We are joined tonight by myself, Michael McEwan, the Graeme Duthie, and the forgotten man. He's just come out and off the cold. Regan Stevens, how are you, Regan? Good to see you again.
I'm doing well, thank you for having me on. I'm looking forward to making an appearance for this brand new season. I'm looking forward to the brand new season, and thank you for having me on, mate.
It's like Christmas Eve, Graham, isn't it? When you wake up tomorrow, the football begins.
Yeah, although it might not be Christmas Eve if you're a Motherwell fan right now, but yeah, absolutely, I can't wait.
Okay, and on that note, if you want to comment on anything that we are talking about, just comment below on Facebook and Twitter. You know what to do. You can comment on the Facebook Live or YouTube link below. We're on till 7 o'clock tonight. So let's begin at the beginning, obviously, before we get stuck into the Premiership season. Let's speak about Motherwell's season. And Motherwell seasons could be over after the last couple of games. They won the Conference League against Sligo Rovers. They get beat 1-0 last week at Fir Park and 2-0 last night over in Ireland. 3-0 on aggregate, and Motherwell is out of Europe. Your reaction to that, Graham?
Embarrassing. Let's be honest, it's embarrassing for Motherwell, embarrassing for Scottish football. Motherwell have only won 5 games in 2022. They've won 1 away game in 14. It's an embarrassment. I mean, to not even score in 2 legs against an Irish team. Fair play to Sligo. They thoroughly deserve to go through. I thought last week they were very good. You know, Aidan Keener scored the goal and they were very compact after that. And then yesterday, I said last week on the show, if Motherwell can get an early goal or score first, they've got a chance to get back into it. But the exact opposite happens. You know, Motherwell lose an early goal. To be fair, it's a great strike, a really good free kick. But then after that, you thought Motherwell aren't going to score. They didn't really create very much. They had a goal disallowed through Ricky Lamy for offside. But apart from that, they created very, very little. Now, I think we said last season that a lot of Motherwell fans don't really like Graeme Alexander. I think that's probably going to be a little worse now because that's just an absolute embarrassment. They shouldn't be getting beat by Sligo Rovers. No disrespect to Sligo, but they shouldn't be getting beat at this stage by a team like Sligo Rovers. And I think Graeme Alexander is under a lot of pressure. It's just an absolute embarrassment for Scottish football.
Yeah, obviously, Regan, you saw the first game on last week, and we were hoping that Motherwell would change it round, but obviously not.
Yeah, I just think that it's a total discredit to Scottish football because if you look at it, I mean, no disrespect to Sligo, but I mean, for Motherwell to go into Sligo, I mean, it just does no good for Scottish football and people looking in. The fact that Motherwell, this is not a Motherwell team that actually did very well against Sligo. They got absolutely battered over 2 legs. It's not as if, like, I was watching the 2 games and I'm going, Motherwell have hardly had a shot at goal here. They've hardly had a chance to say, right, well, Motherwell are very unfortunate to not go through here. They didn't offer much. They didn't offer anything. And I think if you're a Motherwell fan, quite rightly, you'll be questioning Graeme Alexander to be Motherwell manager. I think it's important for Motherwell to go out of this transfer window better than you came in. And I think if you're going to sack a manager, I think now's the perfect chance because you can give the brand new manager some new players in the transfer market and you can build on it. Because obviously we're going to talk about it later. Who we think is potentially going to do well in Scotland and do well in the Premiership. But I think if see Motherwell, I think that they're buying in trouble. They're buying in trouble. I mean, see for me, they've only got one good player, and that is Van Veen. And I don't understand why he's not playing Stephen O'Donnell. I understand you bring in Paul McGinn. Paul McGinn's played for Scotland, but I'm still saying something's definitely happened with Stephen O'Donnell because he was the captain of Motherwell last season, and for him not to be playing, I think there's definitely something wrong there.
Yeah, something's really went wrong in the dressing room, Graeme. Obviously, it's embarrassing to Motherwell, but embarrassing to Scottish football as well.
Yeah, I mean, for years it's always been Celtic and Rangers that have kind of done the coefficient. Teams like Aberdeen, Hearts, Hibs, United, Motherwell, whoever, always seem to get knocked out early by, no disrespect, but very, very poor teams. And it just makes Scotland, people think Scottish football is a tin pot league and a lot of results like last night don't really help that. It was really, really poor. I mean, as I said, Motherwell didn't really create anything very much. And Reagan's right. Their only really decent player is Kevin Van Veen. They don't really have a lot else. I heard during the commentary that Stephen Craigham said that Liam Kelly should have saved the first goal. I can see where it's coming from. It's a long way out, and it is his side. But it's a great strike. But after that, you're thinking, right, Motherwell need to come back into this. They need to respond. They need to act quickly. And they didn't. It was really powder puff. And, I mean, Motherwell could have a very, very difficult season ahead. They've got St Mirren on Sunday for the first game of the season. That's not going to be easy. So I think it's going to be a very difficult season. But the other thing as well, they've still got to the end of August to sign players. And I think they still need at least another 6 or 7 players because they look very, very lightweight. But last night, it's an embarrassment for Scottish football. It really is. And, I mean, I don't know where Graeme Alexander goes for here, apart from maybe the job centre.
Yeah, I just want to come back on that, Michael, because I did see that Motherwell fans are quite rightly quite happy after last season finishing 4th. But I think it just shows you, if Motherwell are finishing 4th, then clearly something's up with the standard last season because this is a club that's not in a good way. Alexander, obviously there was talk about him last season that the players didn't really buy into it. But I think last night just totally proves that because if you're a Motherwell fan and you're watching it, I don't think you'll be looking at the top 6 and saying, right, Motherwell are going to be a top 6 team. I think if you're a Motherwell fan, I think if you're pretty honest with yourself, I think you'll be pretty lucky if you escape relegation.
Yeah, that's a good shout, Reagan. And Josh has joined us as well. Hi, Josh.
All right, guys.
Not bad. Just talking about the embarrassment last night, not of the Commonwealth Games opening ceremony, but the Motherwell game. What's your take? I know you're just in, but what's your take on it? Did you see any of the game last night?
Actually, no, I didn't, mate. I was busy last night. I didn't watch it. I listened to it on Sports Sound, though. Motherwell were they're in bother, aren't they? I've seen people saying that it was, it's one of the most embarrassing nights in Scottish football history. I think it's quite up. It is up there, but I think there's been worse. Personally, I think Progress Niederkorn was worse for I mean, just because I'm a Rangers fan. And the Kelly TNS. No, was it TNS? When it was TNS.
Was it the public? Was it Wales? No.
I know. What team was it? It was TNS, wasn't it?
No, it was Connaskey.
Connaskey, no match. Actually, that was probably worse than last. It's hard to say, really. I mean, the fact that they were so comfortably beaten across 180 minutes was really, really embarrassing. Just goes to show, I mean, with the summer football now, the League Cup starting early, you're actually starting, if you don't, start with a bit of momentum in that tournament, in the group stages, then you get to the season started with managers on a sugary nail, Alexander, I think a lot of the fans are wanting him out already. The league hasn't even started yet.
I was just saying to Michael that I think it's quite a normal thing to be because I think that Motherwell are going to be banging trouble, and I think it's the perfect time to bring a brand new manager in because he's still got the whole transfer window to go.
Probably agree with you. I mean, we'll see. I mean, the thing is, the transfer window's still another month, so it's another month, isn't it? End of August, and
Yeah.
End of August.
I've got, because that English Premier League thing confused me a wee bit. That thing they were doing, I don't know if they're still doing it, but where it ended earlier than every other league in Europe. But yeah, I mean, they've still got time to bring in bodies. But the thing about Motherwell is that they can't bring in bodies other than, you know, really free transfers. And you're getting to that time of the season where the leagues are starting up. There's not a lot of players left that don't have teams, or at least players that are good enough or fit enough to play at the standard that Motherwell want. So they're really going to be looking at the loan market. So he's got a lot of work to do, Graeme Alexander.
Yeah, over the two games, I would say, because obviously I never saw the first game. Reagan saw the game last week, I think it was, and but last night, I mean, I know what you're saying about people's going over the top, but I mean, I still think it's a wee bit embarrassing for Scottish football, Josh, because even though it's a League of Ireland, then yeah, you could say that then too. What did I say last week? Them 25 games of the season, but you should still be beating teams like that. No disrespect to the League of Ireland and whatever, but you know, it's just totally embarrassing for Scottish football.
Mortifying, mate. Absolutely mortifying.
So let's begin now. Obviously, I was going to start previewing the games, but obviously we'll start with Motherwell and St Mirren. And joining us now is Michael Grant. I hope you've got a letter because you're late, Michael. You know, scan't to find you and all that. Michael Grant, the sports writer, football writer for the Times and good friend of the show. Thanks, Michael, for coming back on the show.
Hearing you,
I'm sure we're having a few technical problems with Michael. We'll come back to Michael when they fix his feed. So we were just going to speak about the game on Sunday. Aberdeen, sorry, not Aberdeen, Motherwell and St Mirren, and the team that we were speaking about early on. Graeme, what's first of all, do you think there'll be any Motherwell fans at the game? And also, what do you think the approach will be for Graeme Alexander? Because he's only one game away from getting his P45.
Well, I think he needs a massive reaction. I don't know what that'll be, but they've got to come out a lot better than they did yesterday. I mean, as I keep on saying, that was an absolute nightmare last night. But, you know, it's a good chance to now make up for that, you know. First league game of the season away from home. And again, a lot of St Mirren fans are not that keen on Stephen Robinson. So you've got two managers that a lot of their fans don't really rate. So this could possibly be one of the worst games ever or a really high-scoring game. But it's really important for Alexander that they bounce back from last night. But I think St Mirren at home, you know, they'll be looking to get off to a good start. You know, they sent a few players in the window, but the thing that, you know, Josh has said that there about the, you know, the fact that you've got till the end of August to sign players, Motherwell really, really need to get a few players in because they are struggling. I mean, there is, me and Reagan mentioned it before, there is very little on that Motherwell side apart from Van Veen. They don't really look that dangerous. Connor Shields, he's okay, but he's not a clinical goal scorer. They really lack something up front apart from Van Veen. If he's out, I would worry for them. But, you know, it's a massive, massive game for both teams this early in the season. You know, St Mirren had a really poor League Cup run. So this is a difficult game for both teams. But for me, it's more of a game that Motherwell will have to win after last night because that was just an absolute embarrassment for them.
Yeah, no, and obviously, what about St Mirren going into the game, Reagan?
Yeah, I think St Mirren will be looking forward to the brand new season, and obviously they brought a few players in as well. So I fancy St Mirren because for me, I think Stephen Robinson will know the pressure that Graeme Alexander is potentially going to be under, and I'm expecting St Mirren to win by 2-0, because if you look at it for me, I think there's a totally different complexion with St Mirren. I mean, obviously Graeme was talking about people don't know about Stephen Robinson, but Stephen Robinson's a proven manager in Scottish football. Stephen Robinson got Motherwell to 3 cup finals. He got Motherwell to a 3rd place finish. So I think that as much as he wasn't a popular choice, then I definitely think that he will be turning things around for them.
And talking about turning things around, let's hope for the Michael Grant's back on this game. As I say, maybe he wants me to advertise the Times again. I'm not sure, but former journalist for the Times, football correspondent and friend to the show, Michael Grant. I'm giving you the big build up and you're not appearing, so I'm not doing that 4th time. If you want me to do it a 5th time, you would have to pay me for saying that. That's a joke there. Michael, can you hear us? No, I'm afraid it's just a black hole, and you would say that sums up Motherwell's performance last night perfectly well in the Conference League. I've not seen a lot of St Mirren in the pre-season. Josh, I don't know about you.
I haven't, to be honest, mate. Though I think the game on Sunday, Motherwell St Mirren, is, I've got to say, I haven't just, having watched a bit of the pre-season stuff and obviously paid attention to a lot of the results, I've got to say, Motherwell St Mirren, I think they're the two that are at risk of finishing 11th, 12th. Seriously, I know what Regan's saying there. Stephen Robinson's a proven Premiership manager, but they've no looked great. And then there was that insane stat yesterday, coming from last night, that Motherwell have only won 5 games this calendar year, or something like that. Two of them have been in the League Cup campaign against really, really teams you'd be expecting them to beat. So I mean, it's going to be interesting. I think this weekend there's going to be better quality games. I mean, I don't think that's going to be one. I'll be interested to see the result, but it's not one that I'm going to be, champing at the bit to watch.
Do you think it's because, Motherwell's lost a bit of the spine out of the team, Graeme? Because I know many times we said in the show last season about Tony Watt.
100%, but they've not strengthened in the right areas, I don't think. And Regan talks about Stephen O'Donnell. A lot of Scotland fans didn't really rate O'Donnell, but I think he's a decent player, especially for Motherwell. But I think they need to strengthen big time in the next few weeks, because they really lack something. They lack a spine of that team. If you look at the game last week against Sligo in the first game, Bevis McGavin makes a really poor mistake. Aidan Keener's on it. I think they need a bit more quality going forward, especially because I don't think they're going to score enough goals this season. And as I said, I would worry for Motherwell this season, because they don't have enough, I don't think.
Graeme.
Yeah, losing Tony. Sorry, mate.
No, on you go, mate.
I mean, losing Tony Watt was a massive, massive thing, and they haven't really replaced him. And I've said this before, they rely far too much on Kevin Van Veen.
I was just going to say, Graeme, I've had a wee tip from a source who's heard that apparently the Motherwell dressing room is not a great place. Apparently, I don't think that the players are too fond of Graeme Alexander at all. Apparently, he's had a falling out with Stephen O'Donnell, which I find bizarre. Because Stephen O'Donnell's one of, he's always seemed to be one of football's nice guys, So I mean, that tells you quite a lot. If true, that tells you quite a lot. If players actively don't like their manager, then you're in for. But I mean, players can players can get irritated with the manager and be angry and be annoyed, but still have that kind of respect for them, and have that, you think about guys in the past like Jim McLean and Jock Wallace, so these kind of hard kind of, managers give you the hairdryer treatment and all that, but there was always that respect there. But not from what I've heard, the dressing room at Motherwell is not good.
I think that showed last night because you've lost the opening goal. You'd expect a reaction, and there just wasn't any. And that to me felt like there was something clearly not right there because you want to try and go through in Europe. There was no reaction, and I think that showed last night because there was nothing. There was nothing for Motherwell fans to cheer about, nothing to get excited about, and just a lack of quality.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, and I thought obviously Makahara is he was a decent player for Motherwell. I know Mark personally speaking as well, and now it would be interesting if he scores against his former club on Sunday because Mark's at St Mirren now. So just have to wait and see what happens. But no, it's not the most exciting game in the world. Gives George to kick off the season, especially on the back of Motherwell's result against Sligo Rovers in European football. But you never know; it could be a very exciting game. So that's that game. St Mirren and Motherwell. That's a 3 o'clock kickoff. I'm going to come back to Celtic and Aberdeen because that's the last game of the weekend, obviously. We're going to kick off with Josh's team. And before anybody says anything, no, he's not a Libby fan. He's a Rangers fan. And the kick-off against Livingston at 12 o'clock. Before we get to that, guys, I want your comments on 12 o'clock kickoffs for Scottish football teams on Sky. Do you like it or hate it? Obviously,
go on, Josh, you take this, mate.
Obviously, by that response, it's...
I don't know. I suppose it depends. The 12 o'clock kick-off thing. See if you're going to a game and it's at 3 or 2 or half 2, whatever kind of level your team plays at, or if you don't go to, or if your team are playing the Sunday, a 12 o'clock game on the TV is magic because you can go, you can watch it, you can maybe sit in the pub, have a few beers watching it. So I don't mind a 12 o'clock kick-off at all. It actually makes, a lot of the time, see, for example, if I find myself going to an Irvine Meadow game, I'll often go and watch the 12 o'clock kickoff, and it's always an English game, and I've got no interest in English football. But if it's and let's be honest, it's always whoever Celtic or Rangers are playing. If it's one of the Old Firm versus whoever, then I've got a lot more kind of interest in it. Having said that, though, it is a pain for the fans for a 12 o'clock kick-off on a Saturday. Your game's done at half 2. So, what do you do for the rest of the day apart from go out to the pub and get loaded? But it's just, I mean, 3 o'clock kick-offs are, that's your bread and butter for me. 3 o'clock on a Saturday, that's football time. Because it gives you that kind of Saturday morning, Saturday early afternoon build-up, doesn't it? But, depends on the game is what I would say.
I mean, even if the game was, I'm trying to get bogged down in this because this is me and Graeme's favourite subject. But even if the game was at 1:30 on a Saturday, you wouldn't mind that. But I mean, you're expecting Rangers fans to outnumber the Livingston fans, obviously tomorrow. But you're expecting them to get up, and obviously they'll make it there in time because Livingston's not too far away. It's only an hour away. But I mean, it's still the kickoff, and that's not the answer. But anyway, I'll stop mourning now. Stop mourning like Jack and Vic out of a skill game because some people calls me I look a bit like either. And to be honest, I look like Bobby the Barman. But anyway, on to the football, Josh. I've not saw Rangers a lot in pre-season this season. I know Reagan was at Ibrox Classic for the game against Tottenham. I think you saw more Rangers games than any of us put together on the show tonight so far. So what do you think? What do you think? I know it's only pre-season games, but you've got a big European game coming up next week.
Yeah, look good in pre-season. You've got to say though, Royal Union. You couldn't get a stauncher team in the draw, could you? No, but I think we've looked good in pre-season. The thing that's impressed me is that the new boys have looked like they've hit the ground running. Matondo and Lawrence came on against West Ham, looked really sharp. As far as I know, Matondo's not going to be in this weekend. I think he's taking a knock or he's not fit or something like that. What I'll be interested in this weekend, I get away for. What I'll be interested in is seeing how Rangers line up, particularly because Gio is, he is fantastic at chopping and changing his formations. He's really open to kind of mixing things up and making the formation work for the players that he wants to play in a certain game. So I'll be really interested in whether or not he goes with a back two or a back three. I know that James Sands was out doing the pressers this week, so we'll see if he is in the plans. Also, you've got Ben Davies, and to be honest, if Ben Davies is supposed to be, quotation marks, a like for like replacement for Calvin Bassey, that kind of left-sided centre back stroke left back, and they paid $4 million for him. So you're no telling me that Rangers are going to pay $4 million for a player and not play him. So I think that Ben Davies will have a role to play. How extensive that will be, I mean, the back four's already picked though. I don't think that Ridvan Yilmaz will come in straight away at left back. So you're probably going to see John McLaughlin and Tav and Goldson accompanied by one of the new signings. It will be Suter, who has played quite a bit in the pre-season, or Davies, or maybe Sands, who knows, and then possibly Barisic at left back. But yeah, thoroughly looking forward to seeing how Rangers line up. And actually, I think most of the new signings have looked sharp. So the Morrow's just going to be the first step towards the title.
Michael Grant,
Josh, sorry, I was just going to say, Josh, how's John Suter looked to me? I know it's only pre-season, but how's he looked fitness-wise?
I think he's looked okay. He's had a bit of criticism. Probably could have done better in the Tottenham game. But, I mean, I've seen John Suter play for Scotland a few times, and I've seen him play for Hearts, and I know he can do better than what I've seen so far in pre-season. So I'm not particularly worried. The only thing I'm worried about is his overall fitness. Can he stay fit long term? And can he give you... I don't think John Suter, with the best will in the world, I don't think he's ever going to give you the level of fitness of the likes of Connor Goldson playing 50, 60 games a year. I don't think you're ever going to get that for John Suter. But, they're going to have to manage his fitness the same way they're going to have to do with Ryan Jack. So it'll be interesting to see how they do. But we know that when John Suter does play, he can be absolutely fantastic. He's looked okay. Could have done better in the Tottenham game. He was subbed off in that game. But at the same time, he's coming up against, how do you say, I know it's Son, but his full name's Hyun Ming Son or something like that. Can't remember his name. But I mean, they're talking about one of the best Asian players ever. And then Harry Kane, who's overrated in my eyes.
Just to bring you up to speed on a bit of news, because we always like to get a bit of exclusive news, and it's not because Michael Grant's here, but that's exclusive as well, and hopefully you can hear us now, Michael. But we've just heard that Graham Alexander has left Motherwell as manager. I don't think nobody on this panel is very surprised at that. Graham.
I thought you were going to Michael. No, and to be fair, Reagan said before the show, we talked about who's going to lose their job first. And he did say Graeme Alexander, so it was spot on. Well done, Reagan. No, it's not a matter of shocking. Given what Josh just said earlier about the fact there's maybe a rift in the dressing room, it's absolutely no shock. Last night was an absolute embarrassment. We've already spoke about that. It's a shocking result for Motherwell. And to have not scored over 2 legs and to have created very little against, no disrespect, but an Irish team of Sligo Rovers. There was no other option but for him to lose his job, to be honest, because that's unacceptable for Motherwell. Where they go now will be interesting. There are probably a few people that would like that job, but where the Motherwell go now, I don't know. But the season's only starting tomorrow, and Motherwell are without a manager. So, don't you just love Scottish football? I love it.
Michael Grant, thanks for joining us. I know that this is a busy time of the year for the papers. It's like Christmas Eve, Football Eve as well. So we touched upon the Motherwell game at the top of the programme. Just give us your take on the game over the 2 legs.
Well, I thought Graeme got it right there. It was a bit of a debacle. You can have a bad night against an unfancied team and kind of recover it, but to lose both legs was really unforgivable. I am surprised that it has happened so quickly. I now realise I'm going to have to rewrite my season's preview, where I speculated that Graeme Alexander might do well to see out the year. It turns out he couldn't see out the day. I'm a bit surprised, but then again, and I'm sorry if I'm repeating something that was maybe said earlier, but I had trouble getting onto the show, but their form has been really poor pretty much since last Christmas. It's quite remarkable that they were able to finish top 6 and secure European football with a goal difference, which was, I think, minus 19 or something like that, and real goal scoring and creativity problems on that side, which is part of the reason that they were beaten twice by Sligo Rovers. Graeme Alexander's a good guy, good Scotland player back in the day. Wish him well. I suppose he will find a level and come back into management somewhere. But yeah, incredible really that on the eve of the new season, we've already got one of the clubs looking for a new manager.
Yeah, no, exactly. So if you want to comment on that, you can comment on Twitter. Just going to the Locker Room Indie on Twitter, or comment below, because we're now across Facebook and YouTube, and you can see all our nice smiley faces. And that's all what I'm going to say there. And before you say Anne, it's not on the most wanted poster ever. So
Michael,
there you go.
Michael, I just wanted to ask Michael, see, in terms of Motherwell, what type of people do you think they'll be trying to get in then, in terms of a manager? It's
really interesting, isn't it? Alan Burrows is obviously the chief executive there, and a very capable guy. When did, off the top of my head, Alexander came in about 18 months ago? Is that right? Maybe you guys will know better, but it's difficult to know, because I suppose they do have a bit of time. I know it sounds daft on the eve of a season, but they can afford to go in with some of the backroom team taking the first couple of games. There's nothing too pressing at the moment. It's not as if they're in a relegation battle yet. I do wonder if they might end up being in a relegation battle. I wondered actually whether changing the manager might give them an impetus if they got into trouble in the second half of the season. Obviously, it's come a lot quicker. To answer the question, Regan, I'm not sure. I'm not sure where they would go. Sometimes clubs tend to react against the appointment they've just made, if you know what I mean. So, you go from a youngish former player to maybe an older, experienced pair of hands. You go from a kind of local club favourite to a foreign manager. I think if I was Motherwell, I would take my time and look at who's out there, and not feel that they need to be rushed into anything. They're out of Europe. Okay, they'll come into the League Cup soon enough, but I think they can take 2-3 weeks at least to really think about where they go next.
Yeah, Michael, because I want to get the comments from Motherwell there, it's basically that Graeme Alexander, he was the one that went to the board and said, I think it's time for a change. Do you think that's interesting? That he's went to the board and spoke to the board and both Graeme Alexander and the board have came to some sort of agreement rather than.
Yeah. I mean, I thought he looked quite haunted. Expect after the game last night. I mean, I was at the first leg, and he was pretty confident, to be honest with you. I mean, after the first leg, he thought that the score was didn't really represent the run of the game, the run of play, and he was reasonably confident they would turn things around last night. But I keep going to the back. I think if it was just these two results on the back of a strong end to last season, probably he and Motherwell wouldn't have come to this decision. I don't know. It's not so much a mutual decision. It's more kind of Motherwell accepting his resignation, by the sounds of it. It's a strange one. It just puts a lot of stress and pressure on Motherwell straight away. Before a ball's been kicked in the Premiership.
Because for me, the ideal candidate, it's Dick Campbell. Surely he's got to be up there for me because I know he's a bit of the old-fashioned manager, but I think you just need to show you what he did with Arbroath last season. I mean, obviously Motherwell fans would be like a Sean Maloney or a John Kennedy, but I think if you're looking at a perfect manager, I think you're looking at the Arbroath manager, definitely.
Yeah. Well, actually, I mean, I think I'm not sure about Maloney. Kennedy might become a guy that they think about. I don't know if John would leave Celtic. There will be other names. I mean, the bookies will be pretty quick tonight, this evening, I would have thought, to get a kind of runners and riders list out. I'm trying to think who else is out there at the moment. Paul Hartley's just left Cove, hasn't he, to go to Hartlepool.
I think he'd be a bad shout, Michael.
Yeah. I mean, Paul's probably kicking himself when he sees that vacancy's come up, but he's gone down the road. Listen, I would need to think about it, but I mean, there are always candidates out there that will fancy. Motherwell's a decent sized club. There's no question about it. They're a top six club, and I think you saw the support base they had last week. What was it? Pretty much 7,000 home fans at a game now. There's not too many clubs in the Premiership can command those kind of numbers.
I was going to ask, now I don't know if any of you guys would agree with this or not, but just in the terms of Motherwell appointing a new manager. Now, this might be a bit left field, but this was mentioned years ago when Hearts obviously sacked Ian Cathro and Levine and that. Do you ever think that there would be a woman in charge of these kind of teams? Like Shelley Kerr was possibly going to be Hearts manager at one point. Do you think there's going to be a time where that's going to happen in Scottish football?
Pip, sorry, Michael, you go, mate.
No, on you go, Josh.
No, I was just going to say, I think, I'm not saying that the time has passed, but I think when Shelley Kerr was with Stirling, I think that was the time to strike. And then when she went on to coach the Scotland women's team as successfully as she did, I think that was the time to strike while the iron was hot. I don't think, and just my personal view, I don't think we'll see a female manager go straight into the Scottish Premiership. I think we'll see a female manager potentially manage a League One or a League Two and then maybe a Championship. And I think it will be more of a kind of graded kind of thing where eventually we will see a female manager. And I'm, this is going to be down the line. But I think, at the time when Shelley Kerr was the Scotland manager, I would have put her up for a few jobs in Scotland. So, I mean, I don't think she's the worst shout for Motherwell. Certainly better than Sean Maloney, in my opinion. Or Ian Cathro for that matter. I don't see, and for the reason that football is institutionally still a sexist sport. I just don't see Shelley Kerr or any female manager going from 0 to 100 all of a sudden and going straight into the Premiership. I don't think that the barriers that are there will allow that.
I think that's a great way of putting it. I mean, I think quite a lot of clubs, Motherwell included, would quite like the kudos of making that kind of appointment, and the attention and the praise that it would get. But first and foremost, it has to be somebody who's capable, because otherwise the whole thing just ends quickly in failure, and nobody benefits from that. The general question: will female managers come into football? Senior men's football, I think yes. I mean, you can see the growth in the women's game. We're talking right now with England on the brink of playing in the final of the Euros, and the viewing figures that they are getting. 9 million, I think it was on BBC. And there'll be a lot of Scottish people will tune into the final on Sunday night, regardless of who we might want to win. We'll leave that to one side. But just the growth and the acceptance of women's football will lead eventually to women's female managers coming into the senior game, and as Josh says, I think that it'll start off at the lower leagues, and eventually, yeah. I mean, if we're saying will a female manager ever manage a Premier League team, yes, but it might still be 20, 30 years down the line.
Just before we leave, just before we park the bus on this one, because we spoke about this for about 40 minutes on the show, but just to say that the Murrow assistant manager has now left the club as well, so they're definitely going down to the bare bones. So maybe me and Josh might put our names in over the weekend, because it's a very exciting game, as Josh was building up to Murrow into the Mirren.
I'll put the cones out, mate. You'll need to do the coaching.
Well, the only cones I know about Josh is ice cream cones. So there you go. We were talking about Livingston against Rangers before Michael came on. Any thoughts about this game, Michael?
Well, I'm just going to say the obvious thing, which is Livingston is always a difficult surface for any team. I mean, Celtic have had particular problems there. Josh, I'm coming into this show a bit blind, but I take it Josh is a Rangers fan, so Josh will remind me or tell me if I'm wrong. But I think Rangers have got not a bad record at Almondvale
compared to some clubs, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, yeah. I mean, Celtic's record has been pretty poor there, although I think they won the last time. But do I expect Rangers to win? Yeah, I think so. I think they'll get off to a solid enough start tomorrow. Interesting side or interesting signings. I mean, you're probably looking about maybe 4 players that you would think are going to come in and be starters in this team. I know it was touched on there, but Davis and Yilmaz, I think, have been signed to start. And I think Matondo has been signed to start. And then I think in the number 10, Tillman, if he develops and becomes the player that, he's obviously got bags and bags of potential, either him or Lawrence are going to start in the kind of number 10 position. So, that's not far off half of your outfield team changing. So it's going to be really interesting. I mean, I don't think we can judge too much on tomorrow, teething troubles, plastic pitch, all that sort of stuff. But I think that's going to be an interesting theme watching Rangers over the coming weeks.
And I must ask Reagan this question about his best pal David Martindale, because last season, believe it or not, Mike, I don't know if you were on the show, Michael, at the we were given our predictions as we always do, and Mr. Stevens says that David Martindale will be the first manager to lose his job.
Oh, well, how did that work out?
I did say that. But David Martindale's done very well. But no, I just don't like the plastic pitch. I don't think plastic pitches should be in the top flight of Scottish football. But no, I think in terms of Livingston, they've got some decent players. I'm looking forward to seeing is it Joe Newberry? He played with Arbroath last year, so be interested to see him up here. But I still expect Rangers to win by 3 or 4 goals tomorrow. What to ask Michael, in terms of plastic pitches, see in terms of you, Michael, and talking to players in the media, do the players enjoy it? Because for me watching it, I mean, obviously, we've got that Rangers and Livingston games on Sky tomorrow. Surely that can be a good look for the broadcaster as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is one that's been talked about for years. It's interesting, actually, because I've kind of noticed a wee bit of a change of tone from players in the last year or two, or they're more accepting of plastic pitches, and maybe more to the point, a lot of them have grown up playing on plastic pitches since they were kids, so they're extremely used to it, so I don't think it's such a big deal for younger players now as kind of as we think it might be. I mean, your general point is bang on. I mean, it doesn't look so good on television. We'd all prefer to be watching games on grass, and I think all the players would prefer to be watching on grass. But I think that they don't find it quite the hardship that it used to be. But I take your point. I mean, I think, although I mean, I would say to be devil's advocate about it. I mean, I think probably Livingston's plastic pitch does make things difficult for superior teams that are coming. So, if it was on grass, we would probably think it was just an absolute formality that Rangers and Celtic would win. So there is an element of a kind of levelling aspect to a plastic pitch, which might be good for the league in a kind of weird way.
I was just going to ask that, because do you think that's part of the reason why David Martindale and his team potentially have that they can see that as a kind of psychological advantage before the football's even started?
I think there are some managers that get it into their heads that we're going to a plastic pitch, and they talk about it. They bring it up in press conferences before the game and so on, and you think you're almost giving yourself a kind of psychological hurdle to have to clear before you've even kicked a ball here. I mean, just go and play the game. So yeah, I mean, it's not going to make the game look any better tomorrow. But it's a fact of life. I mean, I understand why these smaller clubs have them. I'm sure we all understand why they have them. I live not a million miles away from Stirling Albion, and they have a grass pitch, but they have Astro facilities near Forth Bank, and they're widely used by the community. And any of these Alloa, Stenhousemuir, for example, have loads and loads of kids playing in the evenings on a Saturday morning. They make a lot of money and also provide a service for the community. So I understand it, but the argument, of course, is place for plastic pitches in the Premiership, and should we be above that?
So that's Livingston Rangers. Just going on to the other games then. I suppose we need to speak about Hearts this season, and the connection between Livingston and Hearts is Alan Forrest. Did you see what I did there? How different would it be watching Livingston without Alan Forrest, and how delighted are you, Graeme, to have him in the squad? Because it seems as though last season he was scoring goals for fun every week.
Get those maroon ribbons on that trophy. The title's coming to Tynecastle. Woohoo! Maybe that's the B League. I don't know. No, I'm delighted. I think he's a really good player. I've been really impressed with. I know it's only been pre-season games, but I've been really impressed with what he's done so far. He looks very quick. I always say this about wide players. When a wide player gets the ball, I want him to take his man on and be direct, and Alan Forrest has done that. And that's what I like. And I think he'll add a lot of goals. I think he'll add a lot of assists. And I have to say, I'm really impressed with the business Hearts have done so far this season. I think for me, the biggest bit of business, I said this last week, is Lawrence Shankland. We have really lacked a proper natural goal scorer for a long time. John Robertson retired 24 years ago. We've not had a natural finisher since then. We've had guys like Kyle Lafferty, Liam Boyce and that have scored goals, but we've not had a natural penalty box striker. And for me, Lawrence Shankland is that. So I'm delighted we've got him in. And, I think George Grant is a really good signing as well. I've been really impressed with him. So, I'm liking what Hearts have done so far. And, if you said to me maybe 2 seasons ago that we'd have Robin Nielsen signed a new long-term contract, I'd have gone, oh, no, what have we done? But he deserves it now. He's done a really good job. My only criticism last season was the cup final. I thought we didn't do enough against Rangers. I thought we were a powder puff in that game. But apart from that, I think we've had a really good season last season. We've got European games to look forward to this season. We've got a sellout crowd tomorrow at Tynecastle against Ross County, which is absolutely phenomenal for the first game of the season. And I know that Robbie's looking for another 3 players at least. I would like Taylor Sims back, but he was well out of price range wage-wise. But I like what Hearts have done so far. I really like where we are there now. And hopefully we can have a good season. And I'm hoping that in the next few weeks I'm not coming back talking about we might be in relegation trouble. But now I'm happy with where we are just now.
It's a good game to open with, Graeme, because Ross County gives every bigger a game. Home or away. The cyberspace was starting to break into our broadcast there, so sorry if you heard that noise. So Ross County is a good game to open with tomorrow, Graeme, and no matter if it's up at Ross County away from home, you always guarantee get a good game.
Yeah, 100%. I think Michael McEwan's done a really good job at Ross County, and he's signed really well. Obviously there was a massive loss of Reagan Charles Cook, but I think they've signed really well so far this season, and it'll be a difficult game. Every game in Scotland's a difficult game, but the fact we're at home first game with that massive crowd should give us a lift. We need it because the derby is next Sunday, the first derby of the season. So, yeah, it's a difficult start, but I'm pleased with where Hearts are just now. But I did want to ask Josh, because he's here. I mean, you saw the cup final last season. I mean, I expected Hearts to do better in that game because you did the European game, you did penalty kicks, you did 120 minutes. Did you expect Hearts to be a little bit more adventurous in that cup final? Because I was disappointed with that, to be fair.
I suppose for me, it doesn't really come down to what I expected of Hearts. After the low of Seville, I just thought, honestly, I thought that Rangers were just going to go into that cup final and absolutely run over Hearts. I mean, fair enough, we didn't, right? But I mean, we comfortably won in the end. And the reason that I felt that was because I just felt that the players, there was that kind of wave of emotion over the fans and over the team and over everyone associated with Rangers of just total heartbreak after the final. And the players will have wanted an opportunity to finish the season on a high and put something right. And it was that cup final win was very cathartic for everyone. So I just felt that that cup final was I honestly didn't give Hearts much of a chance before. Actually, I've actually tipped Hearts to finish second this year because I think
that'll do me. We'll take that.
And I'm not trying to wind in. I'm right.
Sorry, mate. Is that you putting Rangers in third place? Jeez.
Listen, Reagan. Listen, right? Rangers will finish first, right? I think Hearts have recruited very well for the first time. For the first time in how long? I don't know how long, but there is an actual season ticket waiting list at Hearts. I think they are signing players up on long-term deals, unlike any other Scottish club, apart from Rangers and Celtic, has done for years. So I think Hearts are in a very good place, and if they can harness this European kind of group stage element that they've got going, if they can get a bit of money in for this and use it well and use it wisely and get the fans to continue buying season tickets, who knows where they could go, in terms of the size of the club and the financial spending power of the club and that. But I think they've recruited really well. And I could be honestly, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a Rangers fan, but see with Celtic with Ange Postecoglou, they're good. They score a lot of goals, but I don't see it. I don't think they're very good defensively. I think they,
and controversial. I like it.
I know they only conceded 22 goals last year, but I think they're there to be got at. I definitely do. So for that reason, I think Hearts are going to finish second.
So your tip for the league is Packet Thistle, are you saying then? Yeah.
Actually, mate, I've got a few hot takes about the league. Wait till we get to Ross County, by the way.
Right, okay. Well, go on then. Speak about Ross County.
Well, I mean, if you look at how they've done in the League Cup, they have looked absolutely brilliant. I'm tipping them for top 6. Definitely. Actually, but
I agree
to
with
be
that.
fair, Michael, in that same league, provisional league that I drew up, I put Motherwell in top 6. So that shows how much I know.
But if you turn it upside down, Josh, you know what I mean? Like,
Aye,
yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
Definitely. St Mirren's going to win the league.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So let's speak about the other games then tomorrow before we get the guys' favourites for the league. I think we know what Josh wants to Packet Thistle won the league. Let's speak about the other games quickly. Let's speak about the New Boys Kilmarnock against Dundee United, Michael. This is a very exciting game on paper, but it's going to be quite interesting how Dundee United's going to react to Graham's pal in the dugout, Jack Ross.
Yeah. Is there history between Graeme and Jack Ross?
Well, Hearts and Hibs.
Aye.
Well,
yeah, listen, I think Dundee United have made a couple of really interesting moves, haven't they? I mean, Stephen Fletcher coming in. Goals were a problem for Dundee United last season. They didn't score many at all. They were another team with a negative goal difference at the end of the season. Fletcher's not really been a prolific goal scorer in his career, although his best figures were in the Premier League with Hibs, albeit when he was a lot younger. But he's never really relied on pace. He's a good footballer and he's intelligent, and I think he will do well for them. Re-signing Levitt signing Levitt permanently is a lovely bit of business because he's a nice footballer and he's good to watch. And this Australian left back they signed the other night, I was really impressed with his career, his CV, especially the number of caps he's got for Australia. It suggests to me that this is going to be a solid guy. Jack Ross is a solid manager. I think they're top 6. Not guaranteed, but I think they're pretty sure. I would have said to be top 6. Kilmarnock, I think will be okay under Derek McInnes. I think a team that comes up tends to have momentum, tends to be used to winning, tends to feel pretty good about itself, and they don't have an awful lot to beat at the bottom end of the Premier League to stay up. So I think Kilmarnock, who we're used to seeing as a Premier League team, I think they'll consolidate and be okay.
Just quickly before we go, because I know that Michael's got to leave us at 6 o'clock to write up his piece about Graham Alexander being the best manager in the league. Let's speak about the champions. They open up last, believe it or not, and I can't get my head around that for the life of me. But they kick off at half 4 on Sunday again on Sky against Aberdeen. Probably Reagan's the best place to comment here about Celtic in pre-season. I only saw Celtic last week for the first time against Norwich. They weren't up against they were up against a very poor Norwich side. I was saying, all right, it's pre-season, but they never put a lot into the game. So what do you think of Celtic signings this season, Reagan?
I think Jota and Vickers are very good. Seegers is very good in the goals. I'm not so sure about Moy, not so sure about Bernaby, but I would still like Celtic to go out there and spend a bit on a striker and possibly another midfield player. But yeah, I think Celtic are doing very well. I'm a bit surprised that Josh is saying that obviously the team from Edinburgh to finish second, but yeah, everybody's entitled to their opinion. I want to ask Michael about Aberdeen because this is a team I've been very impressed with because I think they've signed something like 10 players and they signed a guy from Macedonia who was the striker who people are talking about. This guy could come in and score a lot of goals, and it seems like Jim Goodwin's got the total backing of Dave Cormack and the Aberdeen board.
Yeah, I've seen Aberdeen. I've seen them in the flesh twice, and I've seen all 4 games, including watching the other 2 on television. I think the important thing to say about Aberdeen, it's a completely different set of players. So the fact that they finished 10th last season and were hopeless in the cups, it doesn't matter. This is a completely clean slate and a new group of players. They've spent a lot of money. It's about 1.3 million on transfer fees alone, which out with the old firm is serious money in Scotland. Majowski, I spoke to Goodwin last week, and he is absolutely full of confidence about Majowski, the Macedonian international who's come in, scored in his debut a penalty. Nice touches. He's not quite fit yet. Ramadani, the Albanian midfielder, come in, has looked really, really tidy. The defence looks tidier with Liam Scales and Anthony Stewart, the guy they signed from Wickham, and they've got a couple of young, very quick fullbacks in as well. I think they're going to be a far more attacking team. There's going to be some more goals in them. There's going to be a bit more energy and pace about them. They haven't played anybody yet. That's going to change on Sunday. By that I mean they haven't been tested by any Premier League team.
Yeah.
They looked a little bit ropey in the first half against Wraith last week, although again they could have won comfortably. So I think there's 2 real tight contests this season. It's between 1 and 2, Rangers and Celtic, and it's between 3 and 4, which I think is going to be Aberdeen and Hearts. I think
Michael,
that. Sorry, Graeme. One thing I was just going to say quickly was, Postecoglou basically rebuilt Celtic in the first transfer window, and then enhanced them in their second. And I think there's no reason to believe that Goodwin can't do the same. I mean, it's been a colossal turnover of players in the last few weeks at Aberdeen, and much needed. And I think they look better.
I was just going to ask quickly, Michael, what you made of it came out a couple of days ago that David Bates might be moving for a 6-figure sum to Legia Warsaw. What did you make of that news?
Chef,
there was a queue of Aberdeen fans wanting to drive him to the airport, to be honest. But I think the latest suggestion is that deal might have fallen through.
Yeah, it has fallen through.
But to be honest, I would be amazed if David Bates is still at Aberdeen at the end of the window. And to be honest, see the whole discussion we're having on all the teams here, we have to acknowledge there's still, a month and a bit before the window shuts. Any of them could make a game-changing signing. Well, not any of them, but you know what I mean. The main players. Rangers or Celtic could sign somebody in the last day or two, which you go, wow, that's a game changer. So everything I think we say and everything I write at the moment, you've got to kind of put it in that context. But Michael, your question about Aberdeen, I think they're going to be much, much stronger. Sorry, Regan, it was your question. Aberdeen much stronger.
I know you have to go soon, Michael, but I want to ask you about Johnson that just went into the other side of Edinburgh, because he got off to a bad start and he's obviously come out in the press and talked about the SFA and stuff like that, and obviously he's just signed a brand new player in Aidan McGeady, who's now ruled out for something like 12 weeks. What do you think for him? Because it's a bit of a strange one. Obviously, he's got a good reputation down in England, but he's not started too well. And do you think that is a problem for him? Because you know what the Scottish football fans can be like, and especially the mainstream media, because we can be pretty fickle, and before he knows it, he could be 2 games in, and there could be a bit of pressure they could build on him.
Totally, and also, and I don't say this flippantly, but he's an ex-Hearts player, so that hasn't made any difference to him getting the Hib job, and it's not really been something that's been talked about. But it will be something that will just turn fans against him that bit quicker if it continues to go badly. I mean, you're right; it's been a pretty hellish month for them. They made a mess of their group, losing to Falkirk and Morton. I mean, I don't buy all the stuff about criticising the format of the league and then the chairman criticising the fixtures and having Hearts and Rangers too early. I mean, God, everybody plays everybody. Just get on with it. And I think that was it was ill judged to come out with that after such a bad group campaign, because it just looks silly. It looks like sour grapes, And then the McGeady thing on top of that, you think, wow, we knew that he's always had injury issues and problems, and it's been frustrating and all the rest of it. But here it is straight away. I would give Johnson time though, because I think he's got a pretty decent record down in England. He's an experienced manager. He's made a lot of signings that haven't been able to kind of bed in yet through injuries and kind of work permit issues and stuff like that. So I think that Hibs still deserve a bit of time before we. I was going to say before we judge them too harshly, but I'm sure Graeme wants to judge them harshly all the time and immediately.
Just before we go then, give us your predictions of the season, that who's going to win the league and who's going to get relegated. So we'll start with the biggest jambo in here, and the only jambo that I know anyway. Graeme.
See, this is hard because I've got Josh and Reagan on the show. I like them both. So who do I go with? Hearts to win the league. I'm going to go Celtic to win the league. I think Rangers will finish second. I think Hearts will finish third. I don't see us finishing any higher than that. I think Aberdeen will finish fourth. I think United will finish fifth. Hibs will finish sixth. And I think relegation, I genuinely think it will be St Johnstone.
I was a bit worried there when I gave Graeme that question. I wasn't asking you if you like Reagan or Josh. I was looking for your football teams. So I was thinking I was on the X Factor there. Who they want to put through to the next round?
Josh.
Yeah, you'd make my top four. Michael.
Well, I agree with the top six that Graeme had there. I disagree with the order, though. I think it's going to be very tight between the top two. It's very hard to call, but I'm going to go with Rangers because I think they look the stronger of the two cities in the last two, arguably even three derbies. Celtic were expected to blow them away in the Cup semi-final. Didn't happen. Celtic were expected to kind of blow them away at Parkhead and clinch the league that day. Didn't happen. I think if Rangers have signed well, it is an if, but if they've signed well, then they have improved. I think Celtic have done brilliantly to tie down Jota and Carter Vickers, but they haven't signed anybody yet that I think really moves them on to a next level. So I think when it was so tight last season, there's the potential that Rangers have improved. I also think that I don't suspect that they'll go the distance in Europe this time. It's unlikely they're going to go to the Europa League final again, which might help them in the closing weeks of the season. And I also think they've got a bit more defensive cover from Morelos. Attacking cover from Morelos and Kolak. I mean, Morelos missed the last 14 games of last season. He missed the culmination of the Scottish Cup, the last 5 games in Europe, I think. So if he stays fit, and remember, he normally is available. He doesn't miss many games, Morelos. So I think all of those things, and I caveat it with the fact that it's going to be tight. Beyond that, I think it's brilliant for Hearts. I think being in the group stage football might stretch them a bit, and it might give Aberdeen an advantage. I do think Aberdeen will take a big, big leap up the table this season, and I can see them edging it from Hearts for third and fourth. I agree with Graeme. Dundee United fifth, Hibs sixth, and I think St Mirren to get relegated.
Reagan?
I'll go Celtic number 1 by 2 points.
I thought you were going to put Livingston to win the league there.
Then I'll go Rangers. Then I'll go Aberdeen. Then I'll go Hearts. Then I'll go Dundee United. And then I'll go Kilmarnock. I just think Derek McInnes. I just think the know-how for the Scottish Premiership. I think he'll secure a top 5 finish for Kilmarnock. And then I'll go for Lee Johnson to get 6th spot. In terms of relegation for me, I'll go Livingston. But second bottom...
You can't help it, can you?
Second bottom, I'll go for Ross County.
I've just got a very early Christmas card at the door, Reagan, and it's from a Mr. Markendale, and he's also gave you a bit of humble pie as well. So There you go. I forgot to ask you, how did the humble pie taste last season, Reagan? Was it nice?
I've got nothing against David Martindale, Michael. I'm just giving an honest opinion.
Josh,
Do you hear that train backtracking, Reagan?
Yeah, beep. The vehicle is reversing. Please move it away. It's Gibby Martindale. Josh, what's your take on the league this season?
Aye. Yeah, so I think Rangers will win the league for a lot of the reasons that Michael outlined. I think we've signed really well. I think we've made some really astute signings. Be interesting to see how players. I mean, a couple of the players, like Tom Lawrence, Ben Davies, but Tom Lawrence particularly. I mean, they're not young players. Tom Lawrence is established. He's 28. Ben Davies is 26. So these guys are coming into play, and we're a bit of getting up to speed. Hopefully they'll do. And we've signed young boys as well, and we've got Alex Lowry sitting there on the bench, and I think he's about to have a big season. He would be my dark horse for someone who is going to bust onto the scene of Scottish football this year. What I've seen for him, he looks like a serious player. So we'll see how he does. But Rangers to win the league, Hearts to finish second, break the old firm definitely. Celtic finish third. And that is just to wind up a certain element of the Scottish football support. Dundee United to finish fourth. Ross County to finish fifth. They've been absolutely electric in pre-season, and I think Malky Mackay. You can say what you want about him, and I would agree with a lot of it. But in a purely football sense, he's been very successful with Ross County already. And he obviously knows how to set up a team and knows how to coach a team and knows how to identify a diamond in the rough, So I think he will take them to fifth this season. Hibs sixth. I think they probably will come good. Then you're looking at Livy, Kelly, St Johnstone, and whoever's finishing ninth. Can't remember. I've got Motherwell sitting in 11th. And St Mirren's sitting in 12th. So who have I missed? Who have I missed? Reagan, you're putting your hand up.
No, I was saying to Graeme there. So sorry.
Very professional, Reagan.
Oh, Aberdeen. Oh, God, right. I need to rethink my
Did you have Aberdeen, Josh?
Aye, Aberdeen. Right, Aberdeen sitting 8th. Yeah, Aberdeen sitting 8th. 8th. Kelly 9th. St Johnstone narrowly avoiding the relegation spaces. Motherwell probably narrowly staying up when the playoffs, and St Mirren to go down.
I just had a word from Bobby Madden in my ear to say that Michael Grant has to go off now. He will be replaced by another Aberdeen favourite. No, it's not Duncan Shearer, it's Dave Smith. So thanks for coming on, Michael, and we'll
thanks, guys.
During the season.
Thanks, guys. Sorry for the technical issues earlier on.
So right.
No problem.
There you go. Who says Dave Smith has not got a good face for radio and TV? Not me. Just left by the 4 kind of Chippendales or just Dales. From Emmerdale, maybe. What's that?
The 4 Musketeers, mate.
Yeah, the 4 Musketeers, or whatever. So we're here until 7 o'clock. You can comment on Facebook Live or YouTube as well. We're going to move swiftly away from football because we've done the whole preview of the season, and we're now going to speak about racism in sport. Believe it or not, we spoke about it before, but it came out this week, Josh, about racism in cricket. What do you think of this story?
To be honest, I read a bit about it a few months ago when Amir Anwar was kind of taking the guys through the courts, and to be honest, I'm not surprised at the verdict. I'm not surprised at the findings at all. I think there are elements of racism ingrained deeply in every single sport in the UK. Probably, I mean, certainly in Scotland, and I'm not surprised that exists in cricket. But you know, the thing is, cricket's not. It's not really a big sport here, so I'm not surprised that this was allowed to go under the radar for so long.
Incidentally, just off the back of that, I heard today that there was a bit of racism last night at the Motherwell game. Mugabe was getting, racism after the game, so we don't like to see that in any kind of sport. But I mean, Dave, I was actually quite surprised to hear this, especially in cricket, because I thought cricket was a kind of friendly kind of sport.
Yeah, it shouldn't be tolerated in any form of sport. Let's put this out there. Any form of society either. It shouldn't be tolerated anywhere across the spectrum, in all honesty, because it's just disgusting when when either allegations or things come to light or things do become formalities in this regard. So what happened during the early part of the week was disgusting. It was atrocious, and all the readings and findings came out of it was pitiful to say the least. And you do wonder what goes through people's minds. And I mean, cricket's been renowned for being a friendly sport. It's been renowned for being a sport that everybody's welcoming, everybody's friendly, everybody's associated with the sport in a generous manner, in the best way possible. And even the crowd, they'll have a beer, which you can't do in football grounds in Scotland. You'll find at cricket grounds, they'll have a beer, they'll have a wee drammy, and then they'll obviously speak about the game in the pub after the game, whether it's a cricket club pub with the cheap drams or the local booze or just along the road. And I mean, racism in sport is a thing it's vastly coming back onto the overall sporting spectrum, I'd say, during this calendar year. I'm not going to name the club, but in football terms, there was a highway club that was targeted to racial abuse twice in quick succession. Quick succession, just to define and clarify on this front, was 3 days, right? So in 72 hours. This highway club, I won't name the highway club, but this highway club played a game on the Wednesday night. The highway club got a report on the Thursday morning saying racial abuse or racial allegation at the game, and the club that the club supporters that did it, the club associated were fairly transparent and honest, and they did things in the most professional way possible. So hats off and kudos for that. On this Saturday, another racial incident occurred towards that specific highway club's player. And to my understanding, and the manager spoke about this to the journalists after the match, I actually know the manager of the club very well because he used to be my manager. When I played when I was younger, he used to be my manager. So I could imagine and understand how upset this manager was. But this fan that conducted the racial abuse, he managed to watch the game scot-free. The officials of a certain highway football club knew who this guy was, but they didn't chuck him out of the ground, or they gave him a football banning order afterwards, but that was after everything got a little bit heated. So I found the whole thing pitiful. I found the whole cricket thing pitiful. And it's a thing that shouldn't be tolerated in Scottish sport, Scottish society, or worldwide society for that matter.
Reagan, I find it hard to believe that when the report came out this week, they found 448 examples of racism in the sport.
Yeah, I mean, like Dave said, it's just disgusting to hear that, because at the end of the day, these people are human beings and it shouldn't be tolerated.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, Josh, what needs to be done about this, apart from going into schools and kind of like educating people about racism, or whether that could be about racism, LGBT issues, or disability issues?
With my totally critical hat on, you're never going to extinguish. I don't think you're ever going to extinguish racism, or you know, I don't think you're going to I don't think you're going to completely eradicate discrimination from any society. It's about minimising it as best we can. And yeah, that needs to be done from a young age by educating children from a very young age. I mean, you look at some countries. I mean, you look at countries like Brazil. One of the most kind of multicultural in terms of skin color, one of the most multicultural societies in the world. But there are, there is racism is ingrained there. Same in America, for obvious reasons. London, places like London were the most multicultural city in the world. It's, you still see episodes of racism every single day. So I don't think you're going to be able to eradicate discrimination from any society. And you are going to see examples like the one that Dave was talking about there. And it's in a reaction to it. So you're always going to get idiots that have had a drink in them and aren't the sharpest tools in the box, that are going to come out with this sort of stuff. But it's got to be a bit of a reaction to it. And I've got to say, a lot of my personal view is a lot of clubs in Scotland are still run by absolute dinosaurs. And that probably bleeds into the way that we respond to certain accusations of racism, particularly lower down the leagues, where a lot of the clubs are run by, less professional, people that are more, maybe were fans first and, not kind of high profile public figures previously. So yeah, I think it's a case of time, education, and just getting better at dealing with it as a society and challenging it at the game. I mean, you've seen that great video at Ibrox during one of the pre-seasons where a Millwall fan had snuck into the ground against the friendly against West Ham, and he started giving all the kind of Nazi salutes and that, and he was immediately challenged by fans in the ground, and he was shortly after ejected for the ground and banned from Ibrox for life. So we need to kind of react like that, essentially, challenge them in the ground. And it can be difficult at times because when you see, when you see someone racially abusing people, 9 times out of 10, they'll be doing it aggressively. And you maybe don't want to challenge them because you don't want to end up in a scrap, or you don't want to end up in a situation of confrontation. So it can be worrying. But we've got to end up in a situation where you don't feel like you have to be the one to stand alone in challenging this person. You feel like if you challenge this person, everybody else surrounding you will have your back, and that person will be left to stand alone.
Dave, is it not embarrassing that obviously we spoke about Motherwell a good chunk of the show tonight, but do you not feel it is embarrassing that a person goes to football and Motherwell, we all know our views on the Motherwell performance last night, they were terrible, but for somebody to race or abuse you after the game, it's not acceptable.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Beavis Mugabe had that error in the first leg, which was pitiful for Beavis Mugabe, to say the least. But that was in a footballing perspective. That wasn't in a fan-orientated environment. That was in a football point of view where he gave an atrocious error away. And then Aidan Kenner of Sligo Rovers converted the ball away past Liam Kelly in the Motherwell goal. And Sligo Rovers obviously got a catalyst to go and win Europa Conference League tie overall within the 2 legs. When you look at Mugabe, he's not everybody's cup of tea in a footballing point of view, and he will be getting justified criticism from the crowd, from the public domain, from internally as well. But what happened last night was pitiful to say the least. And Liverpool fans had every right to be irate, and especially with the amount of money during this living crisis that they all went and spent travelling to Ireland last night. But in the same token as well, the noise towards Beavis Mugabe, the racial noise towards Beavis Mugabe, the interrupting Graham Alexander on broadcast radio. It's not funny. It's something that you'd like to think fans would have a bit more respectability in that regard. And for me, that didn't happen last night. I mean, Jandro Fuchs, when he was at Dundee United last year, he got Ross County claimed every day under the sun that he didn't get abused racially, but deep down, Jandro Fuchs was upset about the whole thing, and so was Tam Quartz after that Tannadice encounter with Ross County in October last year. It tells you and shows you, alongside that incident in Highland League Easter time there, that these things are still happening in the Scottish football, and they're still happening in the Scottish sport with the cricket thing. And let's be honest here, Michael, it will happen in rugby, it will happen in basketball, it will happen in hockey, it will happen in Rangers, it will happen in disability sports as well. I know that sounds different, or it sounds awkward, right? But it will happen in this magnitude of sports, because it's people wanting to expose and take advantage of you, which quite simply isn't right.
Reagan, last season the Scottish football clubs and English football took the lead, and I know that we had to be doing something to promote like Black Lives Matters and all that, but do you feel as though, and hopefully this is not going to come out the wrong way when I say this, but do you feel as though that's a waste of time doing that?
Totally, because it didn't. Don't think it helped a lot. Like Dave was saying there, these things are still happening all the time. So practically, they thought it was a good idea, but in general terms, do I think it helped? Probably not.
So, what do you think the answer will be? The answer will be us speaking about it in another 2 months' time.
The answer should be
as Josh said.
The answer should
as Josh said, Michael. Sorry.
I'm saying the answer should be that every single time that somebody's getting abused, or somebody with a disability, or somebody who is getting abused for whatever reason, then that should be taken very seriously. Like Dave says, there's so many incidents where these things are not taken seriously enough.
Let's move on now to speak about the Commonwealth Games. It's day one of the Commonwealth Games, and the commenter came in here and said paracyclist Neil Fatchy won Scotland's first gold medal at the Commonwealth Games. Yes, he did. Before we came on air tonight, that he won the first gold medal in the men's tandem time trial, and so well done to Neil Fatchy. And before I forget, his wife is in the same sport this year, but she is pregnant with her first child, so well done to the Fatchy family. Try and say that with your teeth in. So he's won the first gold medal. I've actually got a list of the Commonwealth Games here, because I've actually been working covering the games as well. I will give you a rundown of all the winners coming up soon. But what do you make of the game so far, Regan? Have you saw any of it?
I've been busy for most of today, Michael. But like you said, I'm just looking forward to 2 weeks of great sport, and hopefully the Scottish athletes can do Scotland proud, because we've got so many good athletes in so many sports. So I'm expecting a lot of gold medals.
Josh, I think it's a wee bit different, the Commonwealth Games, because you've got Team Scotland, Team England, and all that. Whereas in the Olympic Games, you've just got Team GB. So there's something a wee bit different about it, because not only that you're fighting against other teams, but you're fighting against England and Wales and Ireland as well, and it's good to see.
Yeah, the Commonwealth Games certainly. I suppose they interest me a wee bit more than the Olympic Games, purely for that reason. I don't support Team GB, whether it's our athletes or whatever. I mean, I can appreciate their achievements, likes of, I don't know, for example, Andy Murray winning the Olympic gold, or Sir Chris Hoy or whatever. I can appreciate the athletic achievement of them, but I don't really pay attention to the Olympic Games. Being honest, I don't really pay attention to the Commonwealth Games either. I didn't even know it started today. I mean, the only reason I've got to tell you that the only reason that I knew they were starting the day was because the news was going on about how the rail strikes was going to interrupt it. So I'd be interested. I mean, what Reagan's saying there, we've got such a good infrastructure for sport, particularly in certain areas. Lawn bowls, swimming, cycling, running. We've got so many top athletes. A lot of the Paralympians, but we're so good in so many areas. Team Scotland. So be interesting to see how it pans out. I mean, if I'm wanting a snooze at the weekend, Sunday I might chuck on the highlights and sit with a wee sit with a few cans and watch that and kind of fall asleep to it. But I mean, I'm no mad about it. I wouldn't say.
Dave, how special is the games, because it's just kind of down the road, you would say, in Scotland, whereas before the last Olympic Games, you had to wake up at 4 o'clock to watch the sports?
Being honest, I don't know, it'll be different for different people, but I didn't mind getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to watch Commonwealth Games, in all honesty. I remember when they had it on in Australia, getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go watch it. I think Scotland won swimming, if I'm not mistaken, that year. So that just goes to show you. We've had a few good results today. Farke winning Scotland's first gold medal. Try saying that on a Saturday night after a few beers, but good for Neil Farke to win gold today. Scotland's first gold medal at the Commonwealth Games in Scotland in the women's hockey, as was documented a few minutes ago. They got a good 4-2 victory over South Africa in the women's hockey. So that's a good victory for Scotland women's. I mean, we've got a lot of exciting prospects taking part for Scotland in the Commonwealth Games this year. So it's going to be an intriguing fortnight. And by the time we're on next Friday, I'm pretty sure we'll have a couple more gold medals to speak about, Michael. So from that point of view, it's going to be very, very much exciting. I mean, it's going to be intriguing to say the least. And let's not forget, by the way, Neil Farke is a Paralympic cyclist. So that just goes to show you the achievements that he's endeavoured. So congratulations to Neil, and congratulations to everybody else over the next week or so that gets a medal of any magnitude for Scotland.
And you see this in a lot of sports as well, that Libby Craig used to be the para-athlete in the running track, but she's actually swap sports this year. That's in a mouthful for Friday night, and she's into paracycling as well. So I think she's actually racing tonight at some point. But yeah, Scotland won the women's hockey against South Africa. They won 4-2. Also in the swimming, we had the 2 meter the breaststroke heat. Ross Mugg came second, so that's him in the final for tonight. The men's bowls. The para men's bowls, pairing B6 and B8. It was England. You'll like this one, guys. Scotland actually beat England, believe it or not. It was England 12, Scotland 23. So there you go. And in the women's bowls singles, it was Scotland 21, Scotland 21, Japan 10. And in the rugby sevens, and it's been told you I've been busy all day. I've not been sitting about. Rugby sevens, Scotland 41, Tonga 0 in that game. I'm not a really big fan of rugby sevens, but it was good to see the rugby sevens at the Ibrox when the Commonwealth Games came to Ibrox, Josh, back in 2014.
Mate, I've got to be honest, Michael. I could not tell you the first rule of rugby.
Yeah, no, I couldn't. I was trying to give you the big.
It's the wrong shape of ball, mate.
Yeah, no, exactly. So no, it's good to see cricket and other sports being involved in the Commonwealth Games as well. But I heard a wee rumor the other day that the Olympic London might be bidding for the 2034 Olympic Games. So even though it's down the road in that neck of the woods, but it'll be good to see if London gets the second Olympics as well, and it'll be good to see Scotland getting the Commonwealth Games, hopefully in an independent Scotland. And I can say this on Indie Live because it's on the radio station. I can get away with saying that.
Yeah, well done to Beth Potter. She won a medal in the athletics today, Michael. Felt time walking, she says.
Yeah, no, it wasn't the it was the women's triathlon, David.
Was that what it was? Okay, yeah, I didn't realise what.
Yeah, we're doing well here, aren't we? With the Commonwealth Games coverage. Just as well, we're not on every day of the week. Talking about every day of the week, next Sunday we'll be on after the Hearts and Hibs game with the reaction show. So we'll be on after that game around about 2 o'clock, I think it is, Dave. Oh no, 3 o'clock. 3 till 5.
I'll definitely be on before you ask.
And Dave's the main man, so he'll be there. He'll be holding it together with a bit of feather cape. So he'll be on. We'll be looking back at the weekend's games as well, and also we'll be live when there'll be more Commonwealth Games action as well. So join us next Friday, 3 till 5, and Sunday, 3 till 5 on Sunday, 5 until 7 on a Friday night. See, I'm getting mixed up. It's my old age. It's getting to me. It's a Friday night after all. So yeah, the Commonwealth Games. Did anybody see the opening ceremony last night? No, I'm not going to ask Josh that question.
No. I'll be honest with you, Michael. I'll be honest. I haven't watched any of the Commonwealth Games yet because I'm off to Kelty against FC Edinburgh tomorrow. What an intriguing game that is! But no, is it on tonight, Michael?
No, I was last night, Dave.
I know there's a Commonwealth Games action on tonight.
Oh, yeah. So on every night.
I'll just see what I watch before bed.
Yeah, I live in Dave's or sporting action. Yeah. I'm not even going to come to Josh with his comment there. So yeah. Reagan. What about you? Have you been watching any of the opening ceremony last night?
No, like I said, so sorry to be a bit a bearer of bad news, Michael, but no, I've not watched it so far. But
who actually said we'll speak about this on this week's show? Oh, aye, it was me. Yeah, okay, yeah. Come back, Mr. Duthie, always forgiven, Graeme Duthie. But yeah, so it's good. It's nice to see. What I like about the opening ceremony last night is, all right, it went on for hours and hours and hours, but it was nice to see people actually at the event, Dave, because at the Olympic Games there was no one there.
Well, no, 100%. It's great to see spectators back at these sort of events. I mean, we've seen it in Scottish football. Just to make sure Josh doesn't get to sleep right now, that it's great to see that obviously we've got spectators at football stadiums, spectators at Olympic events, and spectators at stadiums around Scotland and indeed around the world. Now, after the implications of coronavirus, so in terms of the Olympics side of things, they've obviously had a frustrating couple of years, as have any other sport, and it's fantastic that we've had a full size attendance, and obviously there'll be full houses at the Commonwealth Games events as well. A couple of my mates who are journalists are there as well. Like a wee shout out to Fraser Wilson and Daily Record and Jamie Jarrett, the Press Journal in Aberdeen. They're obviously going up to cover the Commonwealth Games this year, so they're probably getting an expensive all-paid trip. Whilst I get to Kelty tomorrow, and I've heard Stevens to Baker is very good, so that's my treat for the weekend.
Yeah, I wondered how many sponsors you could get on in about 5 seconds there, Dave. So, you mentioned the Daily Record and other papers, but what about the National? Because I write for the National as well, so I thought we'd just spin that one in there as well. Anyone else, Josh? Reagan, take your pick.
No, I just wanted to get Josh back involved in the conversation. Then, Josh, so who do you think will be the surprise package in the Premiership? What players are you looking for then?
Back to the real stuff, are we?
Back to the real stuff.
I did well. I tried to do well, but it just fell.
Hey, Michael, yeah, coverage of the Commonwealth Games is fantastic. And hey, long may it continue. You've got how long does it go on for? Is it 3 or 4 weeks?
No. It's 11 days. So what's that? Next Saturday? Yeah.
All right. Well, you've got 11 days, so you'll get another go at it next week. I mean, see, to be honest, I will. I will watch a bit of the sports that are in the Commonwealth Games, whatever sports are on it. Funny enough, actually, there was a couple of Team Scotland athletes on my train the other day, and I gave them away. I says to them, "Good luck." I don't know what they played, but they weren't. I don't know what. I didn't actually ask. I assume they must have been playing some sort of team sport, because they kind of. I don't know. They looked like teammates, so
that's why we've got you in the show, Barry.
For in-depth analysis of sport. Absolutely. Reagan, to come back to your question, for the real stuff this season, surprise package players. Much as I don't like him personally, I think Shankland will score a barrel at Hearts. I think I've got him in my fantasy team every day of the week. I think he'll be absolutely brilliant for them. I think Jota will have another great season. I think that was a bit of a coup, Celtic getting him in, to be honest.
And as you thinking Celtic will finish third, and you think Jota will have a good season?
Hearts had a great season. Hearts had a great season last year, and they finished third.
By the way, just sorry to interrupt you, but the back to Motherwell, the academy director Stephen Hamill will be taking charge of the game on Sunday against St Mirren, and his assistant. And he will be assisted by the under-18 coach Brian Kerr for the game against St Mirren on Sunday, because George gave it the big build-up, so
Not surprised at that at all. Thought they might be getting a Stevie Hamill or a. I mean, if Keith Lasley was still there, he'd probably be the guy to step in. So I'm not surprised in the slightest that Stephen Hamill's going to jump in.
Dave, have we got any odds of of people we think who could pop into the job here?
Not yet, Regan, but I was actually gonna pop in. First and foremost, Dick Campbell is certainly not leaving a Bro Football Club. Thank you very much. He's done a tremendous job at Gayfield, and he's going to return at Gayfield. So he definitely won't be going to Motherwell. He definitely won't be going to Dundee, and he definitely won't be going to Dundee United. Right, who do I think is going to be the surprise package this year? I'm not going to go in the Premiership for this one, Regan. I'm going to go in League One. I think FC Edinburgh will be a surprise package this year. I think Teddy Maybury has signed some good players. He's signed Cal Jacobs today on loan from Morton. He's one of Morton's senior figures. I can tell you that. What's that, Regan?
Tell us a bit about FC Edinburgh then.
Yeah, I was just about to say, they've obviously got Danny Hamlin and Ozzy C up front, two good strikers. They've got Wayne Fontaine, who's signed after getting released by Dundee. Fontaine played 7 minutes combined at Dundee under Mark McGee, which just goes to show you how things flattered to deceive in the second half of that season towards the latter end. They've got Robbie Much, who's at Falkirk in Aberdeen, really good goalkeeper. I think FC Edinburgh have a lot of credentials this season. The reason why I think they're going to be a surprise package, gentlemen, is because you've got Dunfermline, you've got Falkirk, who will have resources about them. You've also got Queen of the South, and Lloyd Gibson's recruiting really well there. You've got Montrose, they've signed Rory McAllister. And Josh, I want to get your opinion on this. If you went to your manager, if you played football, and you went to your manager and went, Gaffer, I've got a holiday booked for September. I'm going to Benidorm for a week. We're playing Dundee on the Saturday, but Gaffer, within COVID and all that kind of stuff, we're playing Dundee on the Saturday. If you're the player, and I'll go to Gaffer in a minute, if you're the player, what you do?
If I'm the player, what am I doing? Again, I come back to that old trope. Depends on the level. But if I'm in the player in that situation, well, if I'm the manager, I'd be saying to the player, "You're going to Benidorm, no, you're no." So if I'm the player,
because that's exactly why Rory McAllister's putting the transfers to Cove Rangers.
Right. Okay. That's interesting. At that level, the thing is with Rory McAllister, he's been happy with the part-time for years. It suited his lifestyle. He could have went higher for years and years, and he's went to Cove. He's done 1 season, 2 seasons at Cove. Yeah, he done 2 seasons at Cove, and I'm not surprised something like this happened. That he found it quite difficult to adjust to the idea of being at a club that have got aspirations to go above the level of the part-time football. So he'll probably be better off at Montrose, I would think. I'm surprised. I'm actually surprised he didn't go back. I'm to Peterhead. I'm surprised at that. But yeah, I think he'll be fine at Montrose. I'm surprised. I'm surprised at his lack of ambition, to be fair, because he had 2 good seasons, not prolific as it has been in the past, but he had 2 good seasons at Cove, and you would think he would want to go higher, but he's obviously not got that much of an ego that he feels he needs to achieve playing at a higher level. Rory McAllister, he's quite content to go to Montrose.
Yeah, I just wanted to come in here, Dave. So I'm guessing that Jim McIntyre wasn't too happy then. He said no.
Yeah, so basically he spoke to the broadcast media and the written media, understand as well, over the past 24 hours. And what McIntyre was basically saying was basically Rory McAllister put in a request to go on holiday because, to my understanding, and basically what he's told the Press and Journal, he's basically told the P&J, or they call them up here in Aberdeen, the Pig and Jam, whatever way you want to call it. He basically says that Rory McAllister had issues with his passport in March, which meant he couldn't fly during the close season. And basically, Rory McAllister went to McIntyre and went and says, "Can I get an holiday on the week of the Cove game?" McIntyre says, "No, acceptable." Bang, out the door. To the furore of Cove Rangers fans till they fully understood what's exactly happened.
Yeah, I mean, because that would suggest that Montrose are pretty happy for him to go to Benidorm, as they call it. So
I think Stuart Peake is that kind of flexible manager. He's a good manager in his own right. He's a fantastic man manager, and that's why Montrose have done so well in the years that he's been in charge at Links Park. It's because Peach is a good man manager. Peach has not exactly had massive squads to go work with. But what Peach has always had is he's had good quality. He's a good, fantastic togetherness. He's had players that have been at the club for 5-6 years. He's incorporated a squad that's basically mates. You get the feel with Cove Rangers now, Regan, that because Hartley moved to Hartlepool, you get the feeling that Cove are beginning to get disjointed. Bonnie McAllister and the first one to be released in that jigsaw.
yeah, I'm just going to say, do you think that'll set them back because they've got ambitions to be in the Premier League? Paul, I was saying it on a few different podcasts before. They've got aspirations to be in the Premier League in 2 or 3 years' time.
Well, as I think Cove have the idea that they want to go into the Premiership, and they had the plan to get to the Championship within 5 years of coming out of the Highland League. In terms of Cove Rangers, they had Paul Hartley leaving set them back big time. I said it immediately after he left Balmoral Stadium, and it's very much still there now. They've only signed one player, and that was George McDonoghue from an English club. I don't remember which one it was, but they've not recruited really well. Let's not rule the roost here. McIntyre been given a good budget at Cove, irrespective of part-time status. So it's not as although he's got any excuses in that regard. And I'm led to believe there's through sources, not me, through sources before people of Cove Rangers get on the phone to me tonight. I'm led to believe through sources that senior figures who have been there for a long time are a little bit disjointed and unfamiliar with how things are going at that club.
I just wanted to take a few minutes out there because I don't think we've had Josh or Regan on when we're talking about VAR, and we were talking last week on the programme about VAR won't be coming into Scottish football till December now. What do you think of VAR, Josh, and also a point that you may get on about Scottish football's ran by, I think you said dinosaurs. You're no far off it there when you're saying dinosaurs, but does it say that Scottish football always does things back to front?
Yeah, Tory dinosaurs actually, Michael.
You can get away with saying that on here, mate. It's fine.
Oh, hey, I'll get away with saying it wherever, by the way, because they're Tory dinosaurs on Neil Doncaster, especially. I could say a lot of expletives, but it's only 7 o'clock at night. But the VAR thing. Well, I don't want VAR in Scottish football anyway. Don't want it at all. I just think it ruins. I mean, it's good. It's good when you get a VAR goal for Lyndon Dykes against Israel, and it basically puts us into a playoff situation. So it's great when it happens to you at that kind of level of game. But see for a Motherwell St Mirren game, I'm not wanting VAR in play. Right? I want blood and thunder, and I want people raging at referees, and I want people talking in the pub about the referee this, that, and the next thing wrong, and he's cheated our team, and John Beaton drinks in a pub in Bells Hill, and he's a Rangers fan, and all this. I want all that. I don't want VAR at all. I hate VAR. And then the way they're bringing it in, it's just, I mean, it's so on point for Scottish football. Just halfway through the season, It's so, in
Yeah.
terms of sporting integrity, it's just appalling that they're bringing it in halfway through the season. What are they thinking?
I mean, how can they get away with that?
Because the game's run by dinosaurs, Michael. It's run by absolute dinosaurs, and we deserve better. For the amount of us that follow it, we're always going on statistically. Scotland is the most followed league per capita head in Europe, and we deserve better.
Mm-hmm. Regan?
My point is totally the same as Josh. I just don't see why we should bring it halfway through our season. It jeopardises everything. So you're trying to tell me that a moment in the season that Rangers could score a goal during this season that could be offside, but halfway through the season we could change that with VAR. It makes no sense. It makes no logical sense to any of us, to Michael, to Dave, to Josh. It makes no sense. So why does it make sense to them at the VAR? Because if you look at it from this point of view, why not leave it until the following season when you can bring it in at the start of the season? Because I'm not just saying this, but see if you're looking at Scotland and you're looking at it from down south, it's a laughing stock. I mean, you just need to look at Motherwell last night. Every single English fan will be laughing at that and saying, "What is Scottish football doing here?" The Motherwell can't even qualify through the first round of qualifying, and you've got this VAR coming halfway through a season. I think there should be ways and means where Scottish football tries to get the best for itself. I mean, they spoke about that. Neil Doncaster and Ian Maxwell spoke about that Premier Sports have signed a magnificent deal. It's 400 grand for the Premier Sports Cup for the winner. 400 grand. I mean, I think. See, for me, to be honest, I think we need to restructure the whole thing, because I think that someone like Barry Hearn, right? Barry Hearn, I'm not a fan of the guy, but how he's managed to turn darts into a multi-million pound.
You've got a good point there.
Turned. I mean, this is a guy that's turned darts into the third most watched sport on Sky Sports behind football and tennis before. You've got I think darts was played in front of 42,000 at Schalke Stadium. And you're like a small sport like darts where people like Michael Van Gerwen, Price, these guys are millionaires.
I was going to say you've got a good point there, Regan, when you're talking about darts, but everybody completely missed that joke. But yeah, there you go. But yeah, I mean, it is a laughing stock for Scottish football to bring in halfway through the season. I don't know if they're getting it cheaper or whatever.
Yeah, I just want to ask you guys one thing before we go, right? What do you make of the news yesterday that Sky Sports has pulled the plug on the pay-per-view for the season?
I think it's going to be well, we've not got enough time for me to talk about Sky tonight, because I can go on and on about the lack of Scottish football and how non-interested are in the game and all that. So I suppose we could leave that for another week, or 2 or 5 on the show, Regan. So, but on that point, thanks for joining us tonight. Nice to see you back, Regan, and
no problem.
Good to see Josh as well. Thanks to Graeme. Thanks to Michael Grant for the football correspondent for the Times. Thanks to Dave Smith for holding it together nicely tonight. And we'll be back next Friday at 5 o'clock.